Hello, everybody. Welcome back. This is episode 135 of Dissonant Waves, coming back with our second installment of the 2023 Fifth Wave Emo Summer Draft. My name is Dominic, as always, and like always, I have two companions. Not always, but ideally, I have two companions with me. They are.
Me
Hi.
and Trix.
Yeah, I thought you were gonna name us for a second there. Um, well, now that I have the ability to choose my own identity, I am struggling to think of one, and this is probably where Trix was a couple years ago, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think I finally relate. Yeah,
Ritz and Trix are here,
Yeah.
hello.
and we got plenty to talk about. We got 8 different projects. This is, we said off air, Ritz and I, that this is like the spectrum of Fifth Wave Emo we're covering pretty much this week. We've got the Civil War in France is self-titled. We got Five Pebbles, they're the Forget-Me-Not EP from them. Fuck's Goodnight Moon, Origami Angels Gen 3.
Well, you just swore, Dominic. You just swore. How
Yeah.
could it?
In the first minute too, so we get demonetized roughly.
We're demonetized. But yeah, that's fuck with a D to censor it out.
Yeah. Pool Kids is self-titled album. Postcard Nowhere Sinner. The Downfall of the Neon Youth split between Parannoul, Asian Glow, and sonhos, tomam, conta. I probably butchered that, I apologize. And A House That Sat Silent and a Star Nearing the End of Its Life EP by Rookie Card. Now, I think the fairest way to start covering these, given how much there is to cover, is to go by length. And that means, if we're going to start from shortest, we can start with the Rookie Card EP and get that out of the way.
So this is great because I actually get to put out one of my takes straight away on this one. So I throughout the kind of non-listening and stuff, or the non-recording parts, we'll usually talk about saying like, oh, we have favorites or least favorites, and yeah, this one I've said to Dominic, and I didn't say and say it now, so this is now him finally realizing it's this EP that I mean it to. That there was one in which it is saved by the bonus stuff from Bandcamp, and that's how I feel about this record because I'm really not to the EP at all. It doesn't sound like a mess in a good way, but holy fuck, that little joke of doing "You're Killing Me" from Remo Drive at the end of it is just fucking funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really thought that was fun. And it's like a little thing that if you're on streaming, you can't find it, but if you happen to have it from Bandcamp, it is there. Cottonmouth Joe. But otherwise, this is Rookie Card. This is a band that predates and is a sort of weird sibling to Hey I Love You. They're both from Billings, Montana. Rookie Card recently broke up, I think as of last year, but this is something they put out in the beginning of COVID times. A little 4-track, 4.5-minute just EP, done over like 3 days.
If I'm correct as well, I'm pretty sure. No, you're alright. It was last year. For some reason, I thought it was like December 2022 that Rookie Card's last album came out in, but it was actually it was actually 2021 December. So
Yeah. So you get 4 tracks: Super Ego Killed My Wife 64, Todd Gonzalez, Fartosaurus Rex 0762, and Cottonmouth Joe. And yeah, it's 4.5 minutes. Was it worth covering? Yes and no. I feel like Rookie Card is one of those bands that gets mentioned, or like you see it a lot on Bandcamp in this kind of like movement.
We had to cover Rookie Card at some point. I feel like the weird thing to kind of compare them to, if we're going to compare them to any artist, is We Will Look Back and Love You Forever.
Yeah, they're a little bit
because
of that.
it feels closer to this whole genre I'm going to dub as a subgenre of Fifth Wave Emo as shitpost emo.
Yeah, they're a bit of that.
I don't think it's purely that, but I think it definitely dabbles a bit more into that, especially since there's kind of a lot of joke sampling that happens in there. I mean, at the start, there's the Hank Hill "I Don't Love You" samples happening.
Yeah, that definitely reminded me of We'll Look Back and Love You Forever. Everything also kind of reminded me of Guitar Fight from Fooly Cooly, because there is just the obvious video game samples like sonic ring noises and things like that. But there's a little bit of that. There's a little bit of like the skramz, Your Arms Are My Cocoon thrown in there a little bit. And for 4.5 minutes, there's quite a lot to pack in a sense, even though these songs are not that long or like super detailed.
Yeah, but there's a difference between there's a lot to pack in for something that's like it taking in a lot of influences, or it does a lot in a short time, compared to this, which just does a lot, but it doesn't really do anything. Like it's not a case of like the sound isn't interesting on here, but I think there's just too much done in what is too short of a time that no ideas really get to do anything. There's not really any concepts or anything that we're hearing on this as well. It kind of just ends up as 4 minutes of noise.
Yeah, and honestly, Rookie Cards' discography is short enough that if we were to come back to them, we could probably knock it out in just one episode.
Probably.
Yeah.
So
this is actually my first time properly listening to Rookie Card as well. I've listened to their last album in the background, basically. I didn't really give it the proper listen, so I can't really judge at that. I do remember not really being into it from what I was seeing from the background, but again, that is a background listen. I didn't really give it a proper listen, so all takes on that take completely with a grain of salt. However, this is, I don't know. I don't like throwing around in terms to criticize bands and stuff like that when I feel like it's just a bunch of people having fun. I'll absolutely do it to anyone that is a lot more commercial, because they've got the production value to make something good. So if they don't, I'll criticize the shit out of this.
sure.
This though, I find it just kind of like hard to really want to talk about it, because I don't really have anything nice to say about it outside of the last song, where I thought the joke was genuinely pretty fucking funny after the first 3 minutes of this, to just like hear that kind of come in there. It caught me off guard and I laughed. So I'll generally give that praise. But yeah, I've struggled to really say anything nice about this record, and from all accounts, especially since I like Hey I Love You as well, I don't really like. Yeah, I don't really want to say too much about this. I guess that's how I feel about this album. It do be, or EP, sorry, it do be my least favorite of the week though.
Yeah, Trix, what do you think about it?
I think it's a fun short 4 songs, and that's really all there is to it, if you ask me.
Sure. Now, the interesting thing to me is that when you go to the album, We Chose to Go to the Moon, they do thank a couple people and a couple bands they met along the way. You can see a little bit more of that Hey I Love You connection, but they also do mention Lobster Fight, Your Arms Are My Cocoon. They mention Tooth Cemetery and Plague Skater, which are affiliated with B. Lambert. So it's a little bit of like a missing link scenario in which Rookie Cards didn't mention. Rookie Cards there, like I have seen that For Ryan cover from their first EP in a ton of places. Worth mentioning too, technically, For Ryan is listed as their first EP. They actually had a bunch of shit from like 2018, 2019 that they've just completely delisted and gotten rid of.
I'm sure that's going to be another episode. Is just trying to find everything.
Yeah.
That'll be interesting to see if we can track it down. I would love to attempt that at some point.
I'm just going to quick look at the Dissonant. So is that what you looked at to find the earlier stuff?
I think there was something like that, and I maybe had seen some posts.
There's a compilation that they were on Chillwave Records. That's what Dissonant shows, but
I think maybe it was on their Twitter that they had the it might have been their Facebook where they had the old posts to, hey, this EP's out now, blah blah blah.
Yeah, it might be. I reckon this will be the fun old lost media hunt that we'll have to do, and I'll generally be interested to see that, because again, I don't think I can really take exactly what Rookie Card sounds like from this kind of 4-minute COVID interrupted EP.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'd be down to find a deep dive into that, and even to see if it exists, confirm all that. But yeah, I'm probably happy that we've covered this with a bunch of other stuff, because like this would not be able to stand on its own.
No, I literally just threw this in last minute last week.
Yeah. Favorite track is Cut Enough Joe. That's basically where I'm going to end it at.
Yeah, I'll agree with that.
I think that Super Who Killed My Wife 64 is developed enough that I kind of think it's interesting for the things we talked about being a little mix of We Look Back and Love You Forever and Guitar Fight from Fully Cooley. Cottonmouth Joe is a fun little treat, sorts. But if we're going by length, that's the first track. The first project. The second project we will cover then is Origami Angels Gen 3.
I found one of the rookie card EPs.
What's it
Oh,
called?
that was fast. That was fast.
It's a split.
Okay.
Is that Chillwave Records one I was on about, or?
Might be. It's yeah, it is.
Oh,
Black.
there you go.
I should have maybe taken a little bit more from my research on this, but I do remember seeing at least 2 other ones.
Yeah. So, Origami Angel Gen 3. So, this is their 2019 EP. I can't remember exactly what month they released it. May, thank you. I could actually go into my goddamn Spotify right now, which I'm going to do, and I'm going to see exactly what time I actually added it to my shortlist to tell you when I discovered it, but I don't think it was that too much long afterwards. Let me see. Trix, you can do a very quick padding out. Do a dance number. Do a dance number, Trix.
Okay. I'm not really in a here.
Okay, so I've got it up. So I added the single to Emerald into my shortlist in July 4th, 2019. So I discovered Origami Angel around 2 months after this EP had dropped. And originally, when I was kind of listening to this, when I only heard Emerald, I'm like, yeah, this is some alright kind of pop punk, I guess I kind of more associated with this with. And then I heard Ruby as well, and then Ruby fucking just goes off for a minute and 20-second track. And at the end of the year, I considered this my second favorite EP of 2019. Yeah, the EP I put ahead of it was Baby Doobie's Space Cadet.
Okay.
So it's not like I found the best EP of all time to beat it or anything, nor I consider this the best EP of all time. But from what I was listening to in 2019, it was pretty high up in there. So this was basically my introduction into Origami Angel, whilst I believe your two's introduction was Gami Gang. So it's kind of like we're going opposite direction now.
Yeah, and this was a bit of the breakout moment for them because I was reading like Kotaku articles talking about this EP because it is all based on Pokemon Gen 3, Ruby Sapphire Emerald, and XD Gale of Darkness, the track names, and this came out
completely
the same year,
disregarded Colosseum, by the way,
which is disappointing. I was very upset about that. Also, no Fire Red and Leaf Green, but that's a different story.
Yeah, that one's a bit more forgivable since it's a Gen 1 remake.
But this is also the same year that Somewhere City came out, so this was a prelude to that.
Yes. Yeah, Somewhere City came out late November, I'm pretty sure. Maybe halfway through November.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
so, yeah, but they basically, there was that little 6-month gap between this EP and then the album just kind of came out. And I mean, honestly, I think if comparing EPs to other EPs of the year gets a bit different, but if I'm going to compare EP and album, I think the album is a lot more impressive.
Oh, yeah, Somewhere City is great.
When time is given, but I'm interested. Dominic, where do you have this in Origami Angel's discography? Not in ranking, just in generalness.
It's high up there, but we're talking like number 4, number 5. Like it's
basically you just love Origami Angel's discography.
Well, I mean, it's more. I mean, yes, but it's like everything they put out since then. I think has been better.
Yeah, no, I think I prefer this to the Return EP, but I think I prefer the Depart EP to this.
I mean, yeah, that's fair. You like the Depart EP quite a bit, and I like it as well, not as much as you do. But like, it'd be Gami Gang, Somewhere City are pretty much tied at number 1, and then Depart and Return, and then something like this.
But I also believe XD Gale of Darkness is one of their first kind of forays. I can't remember their earlier stuff too well, but it was it was one of their first forays into the more hardcore sound.
Yes, and one of the first times they really struck out with like a different kind of sound, even outside of like doing like hardcore or anything like that.
Yeah.
Like, oh, it's the track where Rylan does the rapping, right? Like that's a fun little thing. But then you hear more, especially on Gami Gang, where they do like the bossa nova stuff and all that stuff. Like you can kind of trace a little of that back to here.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, Somewhere City doesn't even really sound like the Gen 3 EP at times because there isn't any of that kind of like experimentalness in their sound. It's more of them actually making a proper album of their sound, which I still think it was really good because it was just a math rock I did back in 2019. But I mean, talking about the songs on here, there is some. I mean, Ruby is just a really catchy song, and goes absolutely off for 1 minute and 20 seconds. It's one of my favorite Origami Angel tracks. Full stop.
Trix, are you gonna ask the question or am I?
What was that?
Are you gonna ask the question or am I?
Ask the question.
Is Ruby not a little obsessive? A little, much at times?
A little bit.
I don't care. It's fucking catchy.
It's catchy, but like, what's your favorite thing to do? Blah blah blah. It's all asking questions to this fictional girl, and it goes a little into like, okay, I understand you like her a lot, but it started off that line between being really cheesy and really heartfelt that I think they balance a lot better after this.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll straight up. I don't really fully disagree with you, but like I also don't fully agree with you. I do think I don't think it's obsessive. Like I could agree with the cheesy part, but I think it works pretty well, especially when this whole EP was kind of just playing on Pokemon kind of themes or like the whole kind of style. I mean, Sapphire literally there talks about how it's basically him just talking about fucking media at the start of it.
Yeah. That's my next point of like Sapphire even gets a little bit more cheesy where he's like, I know you more than I know anything about Pokemon, Star Trek, or Twin Peaks, or even Rocket League. And it's like, god damn.
And I'll probably argue that Ruby actually probably has the best lyrics out of this EP because it does get pretty cheesy. And I think that's like basically what my criticisms of it were in 2019. Like, Emerald is not good lyrically. I like the song. I think it's got some really great instrumentation to it, and it's catchy. But I don't think that means it's good lyrically. Like, hi, it's been a minute since we talked. I just wanted to catch up and maybe see if you had changed your mind about me. It's not.
Yeah, it's like you don't need to do that.
It's not that great lyrically.
You don't need to do that, bro. Don't check up like that. And that also goes into the conversation I think we have to have eventually if we ever cover even early Origami Angel stuff. And that this is the point where Rylan was really developing as a singer.
Oh no, absolutely, and as a songwriter, like I say, when I probably wouldn't have this if I redid my EPs list and listened to more. I probably wouldn't have it as number 2. I'd probably drop it down a bit. I still would probably have it in my top 10 because I think the highlights of this record are absolutely the instrumentation on this. I think they do quite a lot with the guitar work and the riffs and the songwriting instrumentation wise in 8 minutes.
Yes. I
think there's actually quite a lot of events that happen on it, and yeah, like we say, there's a bit more having a bit more fun with the sound as well in XD Gale with Darkness. Which that one is probably actually the least cheesy out of all the songs thinking about it, but it doesn't mean it escapes the cheese.
I mean it's the white man rap track of the bunch.
Absolutely. But it's you know when it's kind of just like so stupid anyway what they're doing on lyrically there that it just like you can't even really call it cheesy. It's just happens.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I feel about it. And I don't know. Part of me wants to just defend it because this is where I discovered Origami Angel as well. I mean, I will full on defend Ruby. I don't think it's as obsessive as you put out in there. I think that it's just I wouldn't call it Pinkerton levels of honest, but I think it's just actually one of those ones that more feels like this is actually just someone kind of thinking about. Yeah, it's a fictional girl, obviously. Who would have thought that any Midwest emo singers would be singing about a fictional girl? But I think it's a bit more honest of a way of kind of like someone trying to
It's the thoughts
Think
about
about
somebody.
how they would strike up a conversation or
That's fair.
learn about somebody. It's not that bad. Plus,
Yeah.
the guitar work on it fucking bangs.
Oh yes, absolutely. For 8 minutes, it does stand out very well.
Plus, also the music video for it was actually pretty cute as well. It's pretty hard to find because it was on the oh god, it was Chatterbox Records. That was the old label.
Yeah.
But obviously, Origami Angels had a bit of drama for the owner of that not being so well. But the old music video before it got taken down on that was it starts off with Ryland playing solo guitar at a park, and then just like it cuts and like all of his friends and stuff there are just joining in with instruments, and they're poorly playing it, obviously not lip syncing well at all to it, but it's a very nice, cute video from it's 1 minute and 20 seconds, and it's personally one of my favorite Gami game tracks.
Trix, you've not said too much.
I really don't have too much to say. It's just a fun 4-track EP.
What's your favorite Gen 3 game?
Never really played much Gen 3. I think the only one I've played with any in any amount of playing is Fire Red.
Fire Red was a top tier game.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got a level 91 Vaporeon on there. Good thing Vaporeon's still a very nice Pokemon to talk about, right?
I played Ruby and Sapphire in Coliseum. So if I had to pick between any of those, I guess Sapphire because I like Kyogre more. Groudon's cool though.
Fair enough.
Yeah, no, I preferred Ruby to Sapphire, but Emerald was the best of the Hoenn games by far. On that though, I'm probably actually going to say my favorites is Ruby, and my least favorite's probably Sapphire.
I like Ruby. I like XD Gale of Darkness, and Sapphire's probably Emerald. We'll split it in half. We'll say I like XD Gale of Darkness and Ruby a bit. Sapphire and Emerald are less good.
I feel like Emerald just does a lot more instrumentation wise compared to Sapphire, but like yeah, probably looking back on it as a retrospective, even though I liked Emerald a bit more when it came out, I think you're alright. It's probably weaker than XD Gale of Darkness.
Yeah.
Do you like the delivery of "Hi"? But yeah, Trix.
From an instrumental perspective, I think I liked Ruby the best.
Okay.
No least favorite.
Alrighty. So now we move on to something that's a little bit longer, a little bit more developed. We go now to Fuck with a V's Goodnight Mood. And we now are expanding into the outer skirts of what emo is and what, can be considered part of this movement.
No, I'm gonna even ask you an even riskier question, Dominic.
Yes.
If this is considered emo, do we consider Spark Alaska emo?
Oh shit.
Spark Alaska is probably fourth wave.
This I struggle to really associate this one with emo more than I do with kind of bedroom DIY. I don't think those are genres that are far apart from each other, but I think they're far apart enough to be different genres. And this one I feel like is a bit controversial. I don't know exactly what scene they're in. I know genres get pretty tight, and fifth wave can get pretty out by that. And I don't want to be that fucking gatekeeper that says that isn't real emo. Real emo only exists at the hardcore scene, the DC hardcore scene. Fucking copy pasta.
Now it's worth mentioning on Bandcamp they do have an emo tag.
Yeah.
So if you didn't listen to everything like I did when I made these tier lists, not these tier lists, but these lists for the draft, I kind of just went with that. I figured we'd hash it out later. But this is what I call this is what I call Life is Strange music.
I don't think I actually have a take that's like more accurate than that. I think that's probably the best take you've made on this podcast in a while, Dominic.
Yeah.
I can't disagree with that in any. I think you've just actually hit the fucking nail on the coffin there. That's it. You buried this convo for this and just nailed it in one fucking sentence.
Which is unfortunate because I do have a little more to say.
Yeah.
Postcard If you look at the lyrics for Postcard and you like listen to it, 100% that's an emo track just done acoustically and not with like great instrumentation.
I mean, we could compare it as well to the closing song of the Postcard Nowhere album.
Yeah, that's true. But like I was listening to it, and like, okay, I'm listening to it, I'm like, okay, I can hear it. I can hear the if she were to go a little bit more in that harsher intonation, I could definitely see it happening. It would be a great song for somebody to cover.
So I want to know, just mention they've been releasing stuff since 2016.
Yeah, so again, also straddling the line between are they more of like a fourth wave, a bridge thing, or fifth wave. I do know that for a while that Fuck was a anonymous project that eventually, I think her name is Shirley. She eventually kind of came out of her shell a little bit and actually developed as a band now because they're all in Texas. They're like engineers by day, and this is their little outlet. So for that, I think it's interesting in terms of, hey, I need to just do this shit on the side. And, I think in the article I was reading, she was working at EA. Some of the band members are like working at like other tech places like that. So I can see a need to kind of just let go a little bit. But this is also the more like the most recent thing that we have that's not considered part of our 2023 cycle. This came out literally last November.
It says November 18th, so it's as close to the 2023 cutoff as it possibly could have been.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, I like this. It's fine. I wouldn't tell you it's my favorite of the week, but I'm also obviously telling you it's not my least favorite of the week.
Yes.
It's. I mean, she's got an absolutely fucking lovely voice. I can't deny that. I could easily listen to her sing for a long time. I think she's got a really pleasant voice. Yeah. I don't think the songs are too interesting to really go out of my way to constantly listen to. I don't think it hits that right kind of vibe that I look for, say, in certain Spark Alaska songs that I got. I'm sure if I listened to more Fuck though, I would get some of those, so I'm not going to claim on that. I mean, I sent the song Postcard actually to my friend to get a opinion on, and I think he was basically like, I don't think he's going to constantly put it in his playlist, but it's like, if it comes on, I'll happily listen to it. And I always say there's a place for music like that.
Yeah.
And I'm sure if I looked more into the lyrics of this, I would see some more things to kind of go delve deeper into. But it's like, it's just nice acoustic music. I feel like the one I can probably compare it to a bit more is actually Gnosis is Alive.
Oh, interesting.
Oh.
Where it's like kind of like I think it's better than Gnosis is Alive, but it's kind of that whole like if I put it on, I'm not going to tell someone to turn it off. Who did easy music to play at a dinner party.
Trix, you were saying something?
Yeah, I got kind of like adult mom vibes.
Yeah. Yeah, no, let's say that too.
I really like the cover art.
The cover art's cute.
Very cute.
It's a cute little EP.
Mm-hmm.
You were saying something else, Trix?
I just really like this.
Yeah. I would love to put this on the radio in Chloe's room in Life is Strange 1. And just sit there for 5 minutes and do nothing as she dances around or something. I think it'd be a very nice little moment. But yeah, it's cute. I like the sound of it. It's totally fine. I don't really have anything as far as like favorites or least favorites super much. It's just an aesthetic that is there.
Yeah, I think you've nailed that one, Dominic. I think you kind of like you basically said everything that's to say about it in a very short period of time.
Yeah, maybe we'll come back to more Fuck and compare more to Spark Alaska and a different one because there is a number of things to talk about if we wanted to dive deep.
Oh yeah.
But yeah. Anyone else have any favorites or least favorites?
Postcard's probably actually my favorite, to be honest, though.
No least favorites, no real favorites.
I would send an empty postcard to the place you used to live. On the back, I wouldn't tell you.
Dominic, you put up like a faux British accent there, and you just cannot pull it off.
I'm getting used to this. Yeah, I'm trying to do the emo accent, but I'm not very good at it on the fly.
Mm-hmm.
Nope.
But in real terms, though, the next thing we can talk about for real, the Civil War in France.
I think this one's closer to Your Arms Are My Cocoon than Rookie Card was.
This is like Your Arms Are My Cocoon meets Homeless Wear.
Yeah, a little.
Yeah.
Civil War in France is a solo project from Maryland, Baltimore. It's a little 8 tracks. It's called an album. The artist describes herself as very trans, very gay.
Fair enough.
Fits in very well with the aesthetic, fits in very well with the DIY-ness of it, fits in very well with the target demographic and who is making this music.
Mm-hmm.
Eva is certainly trying and certainly putting her name out there.
Yeah.
It's a good album, I guess. I mean, I don't know. I feel like maybe I should have given this one probably more time to talk about and more time to really sit with me, because I feel like there's a bit that goes on, but I also feel like a lot that does go on is kind of very similar to each other, so I haven't really been able to kind of distinguish what the differences are in this. I definitely agree with the Your Arms Are My Cocoon comparison, because I don't think it's quite to Your Arms Are My Cocoon. I believe it's halfway between them and something else. I don't know if I would really call it halfway between Homer's Wear, but I feel like it would be pretty close to that.
Mm-hmm.
It feels like it would be another band that's like adjacent to Homer's Wear that I think this is more halfway towards, but I'm not quite sure what that band is. If that's not a pretentious enough review of an album, then I will hand in my fucking what's the goddamn, I've already forgotten what the goddamn music news site is. Pitchfork. That's the one. That's the shit one. Well, Rolling Stones. Actually, they're all shit.
Yeah.
No one knows how to write good music reviews.
Especially this podcast called Dissonant Waves.
Nah,
they're always constantly about their reviews.
Yeah, they constantly keep forgetting what album they're talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I instead whatever.
I instead prefer to listen to Alpha Media, who puts out great takes like how Boy Genius fans are people who claim that they're gay, but aren't actually. Great take, Alpha Media. Not homophobic at all.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I like this record. I liked it more than Your Arms Are My Cocoon, because I feel like the production on this was a lot more tangible to actually hear the shit that was happening in it, and that's why I didn't really like Your Arms Are My Cocoon, I guess. And I should probably stop the comparisons because they're two different albums, but that's never stopped me from doing a shit take before.
I mean, for me, I like Your Arms Are My Cocoon more because, yes, the production's a little bit better, but Your Arms Are My Cocoon had more progressive song structure and had more interesting things going on, I think, in terms of just...
Yeah, I guess happening. I do agree with that.
Like, Illinois, Alberta had, like, that acoustic moment, and, like, there was that harsh, just, like, silence in between, and that Star Trek quote was happening there. And I feel like the songs that were shorter, contrasted better with the songs that were longer to make it more of a dynamic piece. And this is just kind of all a minute or two without too much variation, except for kind of the end, Fructador, that is a bit more of an acoustic piece, and a couple other moments, but it's mostly just the lo-fi DIY screamo, which is fine. I actually enjoyed this more than some other stuff we've listened to recently. But it's one of those things where it's like, okay, you named yourself after a Karl Marx book. You named the first release also after the Karl Marx book. All of your titles are vaguely in French. I feel like
I will mention as well, this album was actually highlighted in a Bandcamp newsletter thingy for the softer side of skramz.
Okay, I can see that.
Along with Rookie Card and Your Arms Are My Cocoon. So, tell you what, I can now put up as much comparisons as I want, because Bandcamp's already done it.
Yeah, and if we hadn't already covered Your Arms Around My Cocoon, they probably would have found their way into this whole month of listening.
Oh, cool. And
Yeah.
I now also know that this fucking record exists. That's a great title already.
Oh yeah,
The truth about Hatsune Miku.
I think I have that on the list.
Maybe actually.
No,
Yeah,
I don't. I have
probably.
I have Electric Angel. That's by the same artist.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, that same street was on on a split we listened to with.
That's right. They were
Cocoon.
on Our Little Trains. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I forgot about. I mean, that's how memorable I find some artists when we've listened to so fucking much.
Oh yeah, I mean, like those splits that way we listened to were not super great, so that's
Yeah.
understandable. This is the Karl Marx thing and like the Frenchness give me a little bit of that Homosware feel, where it's like Homosware is definitely going for something, but that's a little more of like a Bob Dylan, Neutral Milk Hotel kind of vein. This is trying to be it's a little pretentious, I think, the Frenchness, like especially because like if you think of like something called the Civil War in France, would you think of the DIY Skramz project? Eh.
No, I'll tell you what my actual fucking first thought is when I hear the name Civil War in France.
Mhm.
Is that game Valiant Hearts?
That's fair.
Yeah.
I think it's something that's a little more. I mean, for me, that's something that's a little more progressive and like longer songs, more just guitar
Yeah,
solo type shit.
It's like a title that sounds like a post-rock band instead of an emo band.
Yes.
Yeah, like it reminds me of like explosions in the sky or something like a title, like a
Yeah.
name wise.
Yeah. Now
Yeah.
there's a second EP called Where'd Everybody Go or Where'd Everyone Go that has more developed songs. It looks like that are like 3 some minutes long. So I'd be very curious to compare that like a year later to this and see where she kind of went, Ava. Because like if it's more developed and it has the same sound or develops it in some way, that could be something to point to.
Mm-hmm.
Because on its own, I can see why people are drawn to this, but for me, it's kind of the thing of we've covered this already. We've covered Your Arms Are My Cocoon, so I don't see a ton new to say with this, which is unfortunate.
Yeah, that. Yeah, that's probably why I struggle to really think of anything else to say about this because maybe we're all just repeating ourselves. Maybe I'll just repeat you. Um, Still though, I don't think this record is bad. I think it's a worthwhile listen if you're into the style because I think some of the arrangements on there at least sound pretty tight and pretty interesting, even if it's not too different from other stuff we heard. I mean, look, Rookie Card's probably a lot more unique sound-wise than the Civil War in France is, but I feel like the Civil War in France is just that much more developed and better sounding.
This is one of those things where if you look at the lyrics, you're probably going to find more to latch onto.
Maybe I'm just not into the bedroom scram side of the fifth wave emo.
I mean, that's entirely possible, and that's not like I would say that's my favorite part of it. But I do find moments interesting. Like I do like Your Arms My Cocoon as like an aesthetic, as like as a style. But
Tell you what, I might say Your Arms Are My Cocoon is better just because there is one song that like I did go back to on that Your Arms Are My Cocoon. I think it was Snowy. Let me.
Snowy's fun.
Is that one that has like the really good math rock riff in it? Yeah, no, it'd be Snowy.
And I do like when in the expanded version how Your Arms My Cocoon went a little hex D on that one track that I really liked. That was like a Madonna track or something like that. That was fun. I really enjoyed that. Trix, what about you? You picked this. You picked it on the name of it, I believe.
Yeah. This is interesting. I wasn't really one of my favorites of the week, but I just kind of appreciated the vibe it was going for, and I can appreciate a very DIY album at times.
I mean, we're all very used to DIY, super just go for it and see what happens.
Yeah.
Like this is one of those things that has a good amount of reviews on Bandcamp, probably because it has that listing on that article. But I don't know. I think there is more to this that we could explore. I would like to see
Yeah,
what happened next.
I know what you mean. Yeah.
I am going to use a fun word though to describe the least favorites and favorites on this. But instead of me saying a word, Trix, you want to say it?
Blender.
Blender.
I think Fructidor stands out enough as an acoustic track that I can't fully say Blender, but I will say that's my favorite because it stands out. The rest of it is
Yeah,
kind
I
of
just use
Blender.
I just use Blender for the laziness.
That's fair.
Yeah, I will agree.
I'm glad this is not something I decided to try to cover on its own or like as a regular episode. I would say
Yeah,
it's a footnote, a little bit of a highlight that people have referenced. I feel like I think Brandon McDonald's talked about the Civil War in France at some point,
Hmm.
but it doesn't to me quite reach the heights that the stuff that we covered on its own in regular episodes can hit.
Indeed.
That being said, Trix, we're now moving on to another one of your picks. Your
All
last,
right.
actually, the last of your three picks is either all happening in a row. Forget me not.
I
Y-
uh I think this might be the better Weatherday project we listened to.
Interesting.
I fully disagree. I tried to get back into this in it would have been last year that cycle that it was. It would have been 2022 cycle. I still can't really get into this, and I like shoegaze and I like Weatherday.
I like shoegaze. I like Weatherday. Interesting for me. When I had this on in the car, I quite liked it. When I listened to it with headphones, did not feel that way necessarily. I think there's something
Yeah,
about the way the sound hits that it feels better listening to it, like having it be in your car bouncing everywhere versus just directly piped into your ears.
maybe I don't know. I don't think this is fully a blender. I think there's enough differences in here, but I do think it is somewhat of a blender. I do think it kind of doesn't really go too different from the first first song in here. I don't think it's that different enough from Weatherday either to really warrant it being a side project instead of just a one-off shoegaze EP from Weatherday. I I don't mind some of the riffs on Down Softly, but other than that, I still think it's just a bit too muffled, even for shoegaze, and can't really. I mean, shoegaze is still quite a pretty high-produced genre. Usually, like
Yeah.
you can usually still make out a lot of the different tracks in there. I know Weatherday or Sputnik has lost a bunch of the files to the CP, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, so this was originally something that they had made to replicate an EP that they lost a long time ago. And then in April of this year, they updated the Bandcamp thing, being like, hey, I lost the files again.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just struggle to get into this. It's just not hitting. I couldn't tell you exactly why it's not hitting, but it's just not. I've given this many listens over the past year and a half,
Sure.
and just not once have I really vibed with it. It's just like, all right, yeah. I mean, it's not bad, I guess. But I can't really look you in the face and say that this fucks like so many other people have basically been stating about this one. It's one of those ones where I'll put on the fucking boomer glasses and just go, I don't get it.
Fair.
Uh, I think Kiss fucks. Kiss is a great track. I am thinking about the riffs now that are in Kiss, and I really like where that goes, and I think it's satisfying enough that I can come back to Kiss and feel good about it. Down Softly is definitely the one song where I did like it in the car more than I listened to it up close. And so it has that little bit of a weirdness for me where it stands out because of that. But the other tracks, like We Know the Devil, whatever, it's there. Cat's
Mhm.
Tongue, it's fine. It's there.
Yeah. No,
But
you said something like this is like the 11th best EP or something according to Rate Your Music of 2021.
Yes, it is.
I think Rate Your Music needs to really look at themselves sometimes. I think there are a lot better EPs in that year. I mean, obviously, I've considered I Became Birds to be an EP. Some consider it to be an album. I will take the controversy later, but I can't look at this and say like, is this really the 11th best EP of
Oh yeah,
last year? I mean, there are a
ACAB,
lot of things that came out in 2021 and 2022.
ACAB for Cutie by Dog Bar Dissident is a better EP than this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was the one where I initially said that I think that would dethrone Home Is Where. I'm not as sure about that take anymore. We'll have to relitigate that at some point, maybe. But I can definitely say that that is better than this EP.
Mm. And I mean, I'm pretty sure this was in December 2021 as well, if I'm correct.
Yes, December 20th.
Yeah, so if I look at all the 10 EPs that I put in my 2022, I put Speed, Lime Cordial, Raccoon Love, Thelma Plum, Parannoul, Joe P, The Wombats, Home Is Where / Record Setter, Grief Eater, and Origami Angel. All of them are miles ahead of that of this EP.
See,
And
I think the interesting take there is putting Raccoon Love ahead of this.
I think
Yeah.
Raccoon Love was a much more interesting EP than this. Well, I think it was better. It just better in its writing. It hits more, and it's going to be one of our hot takes because according to Rate Your Music, it's the 11th best EP of 2021. But it's my fucking take. I'm not into this. I don't think it really does anything. I don't think the sound is that working because it doesn't really sound like a shoegaze where you're hearing all these different instruments kind of fighting with each other. You could even say in here, it just feels like near static playing for all of it, to the point in which I can't really tell what's happening in here, and I don't like it.
Interesting.
Mixing I don't think is good on this. I don't think it's bad in the case of like, oh, this is one of the worst things I've ever heard, but even when I recommend my friends experimental shit that I know that or hate, I wouldn't really consider this because I don't like it, and that's my opinion on this. And I like Weatherday. I really thought I'd be into this. I wanted to be into this, but I'm just not.
Now, Trix, I need you to come in here as the opposite opinion and talk more about this.
It's just noisy and fun in a way that tickles my brain deeply.
It's too noisy. Yes, it's too noisy. The fucking crying Rojack and the Chad meme.
Because I think this is different enough that I can understand why it's not called a Weatherday project, because especially if this was replicating a sound that was made beforehand.
Yeah, I guess I'm not.
And this is something that was made in a week because Sputnik is still making the follow-up to come in. And this is meant to be a little bit of a break from that. So, I don't know if it's like that was also a part of it, and that's maybe why they wanted to update it at some point, Kanye West style. It never did because, oops, the files are gone. But
yeah,
I think for, if nothing else, Kiss is a cool song that I like and will probably come back to at some point. It does tickle the brain a little bit for me on that one, but the rest of it, eh.
Yeah, I'm probably gonna say favorite is probably Kiss, and my least favorite is probably is that just supposed to be Forget Me Not or something? The last song.
Probably in Swedish or something, yeah.
Yeah. I don't know how to pronounce it.
Begaktamage.
Trix, favorites, least favorites?
No real least favorites, and I just kind of enjoyed the whole thing.
It's like Blender, but good.
Yeah.
The good blender. Sometimes you get a good blender. You blend yourself a very nice smoothie. You fill it up with milk, ice cream, some fresh mango, maybe some bananas into there, and then sometimes you blend a cat.
Feed me a cat.
Okay.
Yeah, Kiss is my favorite track. The weird track is definitely Down Softly. I can't tell whether I like or hate that one based upon where I'm listening to it. And then we know the Devil's probably my least favorite.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this gets us onto the actual albums of the week, finally. Let's talk about Postcard nowhere. Once again.
Yeah, we've got Sinner. We've got the
Yes, the
how
bonus
many
LP.
how many fucking B sides does fucking Lambert have for Juvenilia?
Well, there's a whole album
Yeah.
that came out the same day as Juvenilia and Sinner, and also a covers album that came out the same day as Juvenilia, Sinner, and the B-sides.
Yep.
There's one of each on this one. You got Bad Place by Carter C, and of course the bonus track is Letter, the Juvenilia unfinished track. But
Which we can now compare Letter and Postcard, in which I feel like they have very similar vibes for what is two completely different sounds.
I think Letter is a very beautiful track.
I think Letter is the best song off this bonus.
Mm-hmm.
It really
I would have liked to have seen that finished for Juvenilia.
Yeah, it really captures what made Juvenilia special, in that it has that really quiet, hushed, but focused tone that I really like from Rocket. Where the rest of this is a bit more of a let your hair down, DIY, kind of just let's fuck around a little bit and have fun.
Shut the fuck up, be quiet.
I really enjoy this album quite a bit. I've grown to really like what B. Lambert's doing.
I can't tell you safely that like I think this is one of the better stuff of the week. But when I'm thinking of the favorites of this week and the top two spoilers are going to be the last two.
Sure.
And I'm thinking of what is like the third album or the Dark Horse. It's like, is that Gen 3 or is that Sinner? I think Gen 3 I don't like as much as when it came out, but I still like it quite a lot. That's like in that. And then it's like Sinner, it's like, I don't like it as much as I like Juvenilia, but I probably don't even like it as much as Momentary Warmth, to be honest. I think I like the more finished songs from Lambert. But I think it's a lot more interesting compared to everything else. That it might just be like number 3 by default.
I definitely I like it a little bit more than you, I feel like, but I can also understand why. Like, the songs here aren't as developed as they are Juvenilia necessarily. Like, they're just kind of more of that DIY bedroom pop for the most part.
Yeah, it feels like this is all just songs that were recorded, and I mean, obviously, if it's been released at a very similar time, then of course it probably is. It's stuff that was recorded alongside Juvenilia and didn't have a place on the record, so it's just it could have turned into actual other songs. Could have made the follow up have some of these. There's nothing stopping Lambert from doing that. We could see more fleshed out versions of these songs go up into future releases, which I'd like to see. But nothing on here, I would say, really, except probably the covers, feels finished. It feels like just stuff or ideas that were floating around that have been released. And I would have preferred to see them just more fleshed out, because I think there's still some pretty interesting concepts that are happening on there.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Feel Parts 1 through 4, which is a 9-minute track that, for an advantage, doesn't necessarily feel like a 9-minute track, but I sure as hell can't place where parts 1, 2, 3, and 4 are. I can maybe get 3 parts out of it, but then other songs like Boyfriends is kind of fun in the sense of like it's that stripped down bedroom, just it's that kind of a track of just guitar, a little bit of a backing beat, and just going for the lyrics, right? It's a lot of stuff like that. I think one of the things that stands out the best is Bad Place, actually, the Carter C cover. Because there is actually quite a lot of effort going into replicating that song from the opening skit to the ending monologue, which all comes from a comic I looked up. So I was very curious because the genius actually answers a lot of the questions, but the extended monologue at the end definitely sounded like it came from something. And I thought it was going to be like Life is Strange or like something from Buffy the Vampire Slayer. No. It's a comic.
I mean, it's kind of interesting, but we talk about like, there's a cover on this. I mean, that same cover is on the covers album as well.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, it's in between What the Heck. I tried to Run Away when I was 6, but I got too scared to cross the street, and 800 dB Cloud 100 gex.
Excellent.
Which that cover is basically him just doing karaoke.
And Carter C was nice enough to have the Genius page annotated with this comic itself being the reference point.
That's pretty adorable.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like been released twice. I don't really care that it's been released twice because this is a bonus LP anyway. It's kind of that whole Bandcamp exclusive shit, which Lambert seems to be putting out a lot of that, which I think is cool. I think we kind of get to see what he considers to be the official album on these Spotify and other streamings.
Yeah.
And then is releasing kind of like all the more extras and all that stuff. I mean, Juvenalia itself had a Bandcamp exclusive with the intro. That's not on Spotify, which I think is still kind of interesting because that is a part of the record. It's where it starts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, like, Momentary Warmth had a ton of extra tracks, too.
Yeah, Momentary Warmth had, like, I think it had more extra tracks than it had actual tracks.
Yes.
Yeah.
And this splits the difference a little bit, and then this is its own thing.
Yeah.
And I'm just trying to see if there's actually anything that's on the B-Sides and Other Rarities album that's on here as well, but I don't think so. So I think that's like the only song that crosses over twice. It's interesting. We've basically gotten, if we look at this, it's considered as, oh, actually the whole description just says sorry.
Yeah.
But in all accounts, this is considered as another Postcard Nowhere album. It's a Bandcamp exclusive album. Obviously, it says on the Spotify it's the bonus album. I struggle to really see this as an album more than I do a compilation of... It doesn't feel like B-sides, doesn't feel like demos. It feels like just songs that were just written and created, but not finished.
Yes and no. I think some of the songs are finished what they're supposed to be.
Yeah, but they don't feel like B-sides as well. Is the kind of thing that, like, they're just songs that exist, and I feel like it ruins a lot of the potential of some of these songs. I feel like they could have been put into future albums, re-recorded where they would fit, and I'd like to see that. And I would have loved to have seen Letter Finish because that song really nice. It's the reason why Postcard Nowhere was brought up in the first place, because I thought he writes some interesting songs. I don't even think there's anything bad of Sinner. I think there's no moments in which I go, fuck, that sucked. It's just moments in which I just go, I want this song to be more. I'm not disappointed. I just want more. And that's a compliment. I'm saying this as a compliment as well, I guess, because it's hard to say that as an insult. But yeah, it's still, for what we got though, an interesting album. I like the DRI sounds in it. I think his voice and his mixing on it complements it really well, to where we get a pretty unique bedroom artist. I think he is definitely one of the artists to look out for in the coming years as well, because he's quite prolific as it is, even if it's just on the Bandcamp. He's showing no fear to collaborate, obviously, with Momentary Warmth as well, so we're probably only going to see more stuff come out on here.
Yeah, and like, also in Plague Skater 2 Cemetery affiliated, there are other bands to check out. And I think B is only like 19 or something like that, so there's just a ton of shit to go through if we want to. And for those reasons, I think for the differences between Juvenalia and this, Momentary Warmth, I really think there's something about B that's very special that I really dig. I really like the quality that we've listened to so far for how quickly it's all come out.
Yeah, no, I mean, there's probably been a lot more time worked on these songs than the release periods on here, obviously. But yeah, there seems to be quite a bit of work ethic, even if some of those songs are just made for the sake of it. I mean, that's what the covers album basically was. It was just a bunch of covers, and they've come from 2018 to 2022. So it's not just like, oh yeah, I'm gonna make a fucking covers album. And I mean, you look at some of the covers on there. Some of them are definitely a a period of the time that they would have been what was popular or what was like Freaks from Surf Curse is one of the songs it covered on there, and that would have 100% been covered right after it got that TikTok success.
And then there are other songs like Francis Farmer Will Have a Revenge. It's like for dad. That's cute.
Mm.
But yeah, Trix, what about you?
I really don't have too much to say about this album that hasn't already been said.
I think there are moments that are really catchy, like the "Oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, I'm fucking up again." Like
Yeah.
I those moments like that come to mind randomly, and so I think there's a natural willingness to write hooks, to write songs that kind of are standing out, even if they are in this basic DIY style.
Mm-hmm.
I will be dangerously risky as well and say I also feel like there are some songs in here which have some different kind of genre influences on there as well.
Yes.
Which like I wouldn't call it a post punk song, but I feel like Sinner has some post punk inspiration in it.
Yes. I
Yeah.
think isn't it Fuck Up My Life that has a little bit of a metal breakdown at the end too?
Mm.
And I feel like there's a little bit of there's a little bit of like a Skramz influence to that. A little bit of a yeah. That so B is willing to experiment with a little bit of Skramz, a little bit of this, a little bit of that. And I think if you want to describe like what a teenage voice in this field sounds like, it's this. This is the
Yeah.
most teenage thing I could possibly imagine in a good way.
Favorites probably Letter and Bad Place. Least favorite, uh, probably something like I wasn't actually too fond of the intro track, so I might have to give it to Pornography. Porn is bad.
I really like Letter. I really like Bad Place, the cover. Boyfriends is a fun track. Fuck Up My Life. I like. At least it's also probably like Pornography or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Six.
No wonder for me.
It's real. It's one of those ones where I feel like I probably gave it more of a chance in the Civil War in France, so it was a bit easier to distinguish the tracks.
I mean, for me, I was naturally drawn to Sinner a lot more than the Civil War in France, so it was much easier for
Yeah.
me to put this on and just listen to it. And again, having songs like Bad Place make the track list that much more dynamic.
Now, I just want to mention that my picks will be on the second record that we've picked here and the second last that we've picked here. Because I can already remember what the times are.
Yep.
We're going over to Pool Kids, baby!
We're going over to Pool Kids, where we have Paramore meets a lot of things. It's like Paramore meets Middle Kids.
A little, actually. I mean, they obviously Pool Kids got a bit of a break when Hayley Williams actually shouted them out on Twitter.
Yes.
So that was kind of their big moment, and they got a little bit of a break out there. But look, I feel like if you need a way to get into fifth wave emo,
this is it. Absolutely.
Yeah, Pool Kids is it. They're incredibly accessible, but I also don't think they drift too far away from the sound that it's like, oh, that's just the easy way to go into. They're not real emo. It's like, no, they're pretty inclined with the sound here, but they're definitely probably one of the more radio friendly sounds that's coming out of there. You might be able to argue there's some Origami Angel that might be a better introduction, but I reckon if you're going into an artist that you want to cover their discography first, I think Pool Kids is the way to go.
This is very easy to be like, you like Paramore and listen to this.
Basically, I've actually just done that test with someone who likes Paramore, and they just said, enjoyed this, thank you for the rec. So that cannot be argued against. That's been proven.
I asked somebody over the weekend, or earlier in the week, hey, have you heard of Pool Kids? You like Paramore? And they're like, oh, yeah, I love Pool Kids too. So that connection is there.
Now, you actually saw Pool Kids live, didn't you?
Yes, I did. And you know
how were they?
It's one of those times where I got too drunk too fast and do not remember.
Good
And
man. Good man.
and I had to go eat some chicken wings or something to sober up for a minute, so I could actually listen to Origami Angel.
Yeah.
And I remember, I think they played Pathetic. I want to say they played Pathetic, and that went really hard. But I honestly could not tell you what else they played.
You know what?
It was
There is
enjoyable,
a nice little site which we can view and to see if we can get the set list up. What day
Yes.
was it?
It was in November, I'd like to say.
Yes. Okay. Let's go over to November. What? November. You would be in Michigan, wouldn't it, or something like
It
that?
was in Chicago.
Chicago. I can't remember which one of it is, but okay, November. It's probably like November fucking like 12th or some shit like that. Wouldn't
Something
it?
like that.
Let's see if I can get. I've got the. Man, it's really hard to get the. Oh, here we go. Yeah, so October 22nd.
That could be who, yeah.
Yeah, so they played Conscious Uncoupling, Arm's Length, Urso, $5 Subtreat, Swallow, That's Physics Baby, I Hope You're Right, Talk Too Much, and Pathetic.
Yes, Pathetic was the last song. I remember that going pretty hard and being impressed. That's the only memory I really have from Cool Kids.
But now that you got the album out of the way, what goes hard off the album? Because you can't tell me nothing goes hard off here. You can tell me it
Pathetic goes fucking hard. Pathetic is the best song on here.
I am a baby, and I will tell you that Physics Baby is my favorite track on here because it's just I like it. But when we talk about this in an album, I think that Physics Baby and Further carries the first half, and then the second half is so much fucking better on this album.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I fucking love art. Like if I redid my 2022, I'd put Arm's Length in my top 200 somewhere, I reckon. Because I fucking love that opening of I don't think I have the energy to make it out of my bed today. It's the most fucking like it's the most pop punk emo opening you could have to a song.
Yes.
But the delivery just hits. Love it.
Absolutely, and I Hope You're Right has that really nice just chorus of well, it was I hope you put up a fight. It just washes over you really nicely. Comes in waves, just hits really well. The couch, of course, has more of that vibe of just like I guess I'm on the couch again today.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's don't get it mistaken. The lyrics on this is. If you want to call this album pop punk, which I still wouldn't really, it's more closer to the math rock side of Midwest emo, but you can definitely see some of the pop punk vibes. But this definitely feels a lot more lyrically to Midwest emo in the fifth wave than it would to pop punk. There was definitely Parannoul vibes in this band. Don't get me wrong.
So,
but they are unmistakably fifth wave.
Not to delve too much into what I want to cover next week, but there is definitely a discussion to be had about this and the brightest days.
That's fair. That's fair.
I think there's stuff we could talk about in terms of being more accessible, being more pop punk, but also still nodding back to those emo notes and those math rock notes.
Yeah.
Like this is like dark pop punk in a way.
Yeah, I mean. Look, I'll fully admit I wasn't too much of a listener to their debut. I think I gave $5 Subtreat a couple listens, and I think I tried to listen to something else. Haven't really properly listened to into that music to have safe sex to. That's what it is.
Yes, great.
But
great
everything,
title.
Yeah, the songs that I like off this album absolutely clear. The songs that I've heard of that, I mean. Just when they go hard on this, they fucking just hit.
Yeah.
The vocal performances are fucking on point.
Yes.
Even when they go from that softer to that harder, they just this ain't some kind of like bullshit. Like, oh look, I'm shouting now, so now the music's harder. It's just it goes hard.
They could have read another Misery Business.
Yeah, basically, they'll write a better one.
I mean, if Haley Williams is saying this is the what I wanted Paramore to sound like in the beginning, then absolutely.
But going on to the first half of this album, even though I do think it's the worst half, I think That's Physics Baby is just got a really catchy riff to it. Telling you what I need. It's one of the softer songs on here, and it's probably my favorite off this album still, because I think it's just really catchy in the right ways. I think it puts off a nice vibe to what Pool Kids are as well, because they can go hard, and I like when they go hard, and that's when I feel like this album's at its best. But it's still like the softer side of them is not bad. It's still really catchy. Conscious Uncoupling, I feel like it's one of those ones where it's better when it's harder, but then it's like, I don't know, it's just so outdone by the second half that I kind of just like forget about it.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah.
That's not to say it's my least favorite. I think when it kind of slows down in that first half, that's when you're just kind of like, do I like this album or not? And I feel like that's just almost always better. Is just one of those songs. So just when I first listened to this album, it was kind of like, okay, is this just going to be one or two good songs, and then an average album for the rest? And that's how I felt about this album when I first listened to it, and it's how I still kind of feel about this album, is that I feel like if it was shorter, it would be better. I feel like there's some stuff that can be cut off in here, and Fifth Wave has definitely shown that we can cut down the album lengths quite a lot. I think it's filled up unnecessarily, this album. But it's still got some really fucking great moments on it.
I remember you saying that you liked this Pool Kids album, but you weren't necessarily going to cover it last year.
That's basically why I felt it. I felt like it's good, but there was just so much more interesting in the Fifth Wave scene.
Sure.
Because I like this, it goes hard, but let's not go and say that this is the most interesting thing out of the Fifth Wave, especially what was being put out last year. Like, I can already tell, Dominic, you enjoy this more than Lobster Fight, but Lobster Fight is a more interesting sound.
Probably. And I think there's still room to relitigate that if we go back to the first album at some point. I think there were things about Lobster Fight that I genuinely enjoyed, but it was more of their sonic experiments than their...
I will forever defend the theme for this evening's Warm Dinner Salad as being the third best track of last year.
That is an incredible take, and I love you for that.
There were so many people who on their first listen of that track just went, what the fuck?
Yeah.
And I will forever defend that the absolute pure passion in the vocals in that song is enough to bring it to number 3 alone. And I genuinely like the instrumentation on it.
Now, what if Pool Kids covered that song?
Yeah, I don't think anyone can really cover that song. It's that kind of avant-garde. I feel like we'd get a Black Midi covering Moonlight and Vermont for that one.
Okay, fair.
Mm-hmm.
You'd have to get an equally avant-garde one to cover it. I don't think you can make it accessible.
Ooh, I mean, I guess We'll Look Back and Love You Forever could cover it.
Just add in. I was gonna say just add in harsh static noise, but do you remember when I think it was Lingria Ignota did the cover of Imagine, but it was the cover of the who was the dickhead who did that cover on social media with all the celebrities?
Jimmy Fallon, I think.
No, it wasn't Jimmy Fallon. It was a she. I think she came out with some pretty shitty war takes as well.
I don't remember. Oh, was it Gal Gadot?
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah, Lingria Ignota did a cover of that where she literally just remixed it and added harsh static noise on top of the whole thing.
That's fun.
That was it.
Yeah.
Yep, sounded better. I like this record though. It's nice. I think Pool Kids is the perfect starting point to anyone who is interested in Fifth Wave, and then it's not going to be the best record out of Fifth Wave. I think if you think this is your favorite Fifth Wave record, Fifth Wave's not really for you. I think you're either more into math rock or you're into pop punk. But if you want to get into Fifth Wave and explore it, and you want a good starting point, this is the absolute starting point. Probably then maybe go and listen to their other album, probably move on to an Origami Angel or something from there, where you can start to more safely go into the other genres that Fifth Wave does, because Origami Angel does it pretty pretty slowly as well that you can start to branch out into that, and then you can go into that full kind of rabbit hole from there.
I think this is where we can either develop a guide on how to enjoy fifth wave emo, your path through it, or we could just do the iceberg meme.
I feel like the guide would be better. I'd prefer to run the guide.
I'm Team Iceberg on this one.
You're Team Iceberg, damn. Is the next Dissonant Waves challenge going to be the guide versus the iceberg?
That's a great episode title, though. The guide versus the iceberg.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It would spiral
the
all the way
Titanic
down.
Crew 2 won that one.
It would spiral all the way down into us putting Ritz your stuff on there, and also like XD shit.
You can't put my stuff in the fifth wave emo. My stuff's not fifth wave emo. My stuff's just shit.
You've got harmonica.
Oh fuck. Oh fuck. Most emo instrument of them all.
You can't say that. You can't say that the best swimming fun monologues are not secretly emo tinged.
Yeah, I guess, but that one was also pure shitpost. So maybe I'm just the center of the shitpost emo label. I'm fucking starting it. It's gonna be like PC music. It's just gonna be called shitpost music.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's gonna be a record label, baby.
Honestly, if you're talking about like what counts is that as far as that goes, Trix's EP might be more in the shitpost fifth wave emo side of things.
Hell yeah.
I'm sad it's July. Yep, that's emo.
Yeah.
Because if we're talking about if ukulele counts, again, the brightest days, there's just a whole ukulele track on there.
Actually, not to put myself not even more, but I absolutely will. I think my remix album gets even more shitpost emo than that case.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Your 20-minute remix.
Oblivion, baby. Where I just turn it into the most fucking dark ambient shit I've probably ever made. When are we creating that album, by the way, Trix? When are we creating the proper collaboration ambient album?
Let me know. I can just send you over some samples.
Well, not today because we're still covering stuff in here, but
yeah, I have a good recording setup right now.
I like this record. I don't think it does too much different with their sound that you're going to be going on to this kind of like, oh, they're doing one thing here, they're doing one thing here, they're doing one thing here.
This is pretty consistent.
Yeah. I think it's a better executed record in the second half, but even saying that, my favorite track is still in the first half, and that's Physics Baby. I think even when this record gets harder, it's better. They still can do the softer side pretty well as well, so like, yeah, they're a good band to listen to. I think if you're a fucking fan or music lover who wants to get into the scene but doesn't know how to, if you are a bit more experimental already in your taste, I would probably recommend going into like a Weatherday or a Glass Beach. Already, I reckon that's a starting point in one case. But if you're not too experimental, or if you're even coming like straight from pop punk or even fourth wave, I would put into it. I think this is the starting point that people should start with. Would you consider this to be one of the most standout albums of the fifth wave emo when it's all said and done? I mean, obviously time will tell in there. People might argue that music to have safe sex to would be more important than this one, but I would argue, whilst it's not going to be historically and more critically acclaimed or even acclaimed by me, I think it has a right to exist as a standout moment in here, especially with Pool Kids being one of those kind of like getting the recognition from pretty big bands as it is.
Yeah, now they're touring with the Wonder Years, so what does it matter? But I think the other, like, if we're talking about entry points, another entry point could very well be Fuck.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm going to still argue Fuck's fifth wave emo status.
Questionable.
Yeah, I think it's a pretty questionable one, and I don't think I don't think there's much immediate links that you can do.
I think you can go from Fuck to something like Sinner, if you have a couple steps in between.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm talking about direct links here.
Yeah.
And that's like that thing. It's like if we've talked about those steps in between could be a better starting point than Fuck.
Sure. That's fair.
There's potential. I don't think there's going to be one gate that opens the whole way into the rabbit hole. I think there's going to be multiple starting points, and those starting points are going to be dependent on what you're already into. I would say we've got two starting points here. We've got the kind of more accessible emo pop punk sound, Pool Kids as a starting point, and then if you're already into that more DIY sound, maybe we could actually consider Juvenilia as a starting point. Maybe we consider Weatherday because it's the more critically acclaimed, and those are the people already looking to go for the more critically acclaimed before they go into the deeper stuff.
I mean, for us, the way we got hooked onto this was I Became Birds, really.
Yeah.
Didn't we do Parannoul the week before?
We did, but that was more of a you were covering that because it was like getting covered by other people, and we liked it a lot.
I guess.
But I think Home is Where is where we really started turning into like, oh, both of these are really fucking good. There's something going on.
Oh yeah.
Favorites, that's Physics Baby, Arm's Length. Yeah, Pathetic does go hard as well. Least favorite, Almost Always Better.
Favorites, Pathetic, I Hope You're Right. Comes in waves. Least favorites, probably something like, I don't know, Further or Swallow.
Yeah, now Further goes too hard for it to be the least favorite. It does take a while to build up, I guess, but it goes hard.
Favorite, that's Physics Baby, and Almost Always Better, Almost Always Worse. And no real least favorites.
Alright. So now we go on to the last album, the longest one, Downfall of the Neon Youth, by 3 artists, Parannoul, Asian Glow, and sonhos, tomam, conta.
Yeah, so usually we get splits as an EP, but we got a split as an album this time.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Spearheaded by Longinus Recordings out in Michigan, I want to say. Yes, East Lansing, Michigan. And this is like a complete, like it's billed as a complete collaboration between the three, but you could kind of figure out who did what track.
Yeah.
Yeah, mostly when you listen to it or by the titles.
Like Insomnia is a track from After the Magic.
Yeah.
It sounds a little different here because it was re-recorded, but yeah, that's Parannoul, baby.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And then the ones that are in Brazilian, I believe it is, or Portuguese, I think is
yes.
actually is the actual language. It's like offend a whole country, or 2 countries at that point, probably more. Yeah, the sonhos, tomam, contas ones, and then the ones that sound like you'd think they would be Parannoul until they're sung in English is Asian Glow.
Yeah.
That's how I felt the first time listening to this, because I actually hadn't heard Asian Glow before this.
I listened to this back when it came out. I had this as like the Parannoul follow-up. Sorry, Freudian slip, Parannoul. I came back to this, and I think this really fucks.
Yeah, I struggle to give any criticisms. I more just compare this to. I'm still stuck, admittedly, comparing this to just Parannoul's work, and I prefer Parannoul's work in full to both of these artists, but I'm mostly coming a lot more around to Asian Glow as of recent, so it's kind of like I actually think I appreciate this more than when it first came out.
Yes, absolutely.
But I'm still stuck mostly just going like when I listen to this, I really just want to go listen to see the next part of the dream, because that's it. Even though there's some differences in its sound, Asian Glow and Parannoul have very similar sounds to them.
Yes, I think. No. I think Asian Glow.
Yeah, there's differences. You can tell the differences between them, but they have very similar sounds to the point in which every time I listen to this, I still go, and it's the wrong take to have. I admit it's the wrong take to have, but every time I listen, I go, yeah, I just like to see the next part of the dream more.
Yeah.
I disagree. I think I like to see the next part of the dream. In the end, my go-to song is always Beautiful World. There are other cool songs on there like Chicken, but
there will be no White Ceiling slander. That song goes way too fucking good for a 10-minute track.
I like the demo more, but
I was a big fan of Love Migraine though when this album came out.
I really like Colors. Colors fucks. Colors goes hard on the percussion, but I think the achievement here is that this is a split that is actually very much laid out in a nice way and sounds similar enough to be cohesive.
And I will say, this is actually the one Parannoul release. I know it's to other artists, but this is what I'm just basing off what I was listening in 2021, in which I do own it. I do have the CD for this one. I managed to pick that up.
That's
Hell
awesome.
yeah.
First release of it. I cannot fucking find it now. It's going to be somewhere lost in all this mess. But yes, I'm very proud to say that I do own this.
It's a very nice cover as well. If we're talking about the nice cover arts, Parannoul did a good job. This and After the Magic, beautiful artwork. But I picked this because I wanted to make sure we covered Asian Glow, but also I think sonhos, tomam, conta is really someone to talk about too, doing like what they call black gaze, which is like shoegaze, but like even fucking darker.
Mm-hmm.
I think one of the artists to compare that to is actually Deaf Heaven.
I'm not really listening to Death Heaven, but yeah.
Deaf Heaven's Sunbather is the big one that's done that. It was a mix of indie shoegaze and black metal.
Yeah, that's okay. That sounds like this. So yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
I think the absolute achievement on this is Vento Camina Camingo. I fucking butchered that, but yes, the eighth.
No, I
track,
think you got that pretty well.
where
I say that knowing no Portuguese.
see, this is the moment where I was fucking transcended because this track goes so hard that it like
In this moment, I am euphoric.
yes, because it just layers so much in. It's a really intense shoegaze moment. And then if you listen closely to when it's at its peak at hard, they just do a really nice like guitar surf punk like twang underneath all of it. And it just it just sounds so good.
Yeah, I think it's also an achievement as well. I mean, it's easier when you got 3 different artists, and there are artists that sound different, obviously, on there. This is quite a large-scale album in the sounds that you get on this, but it's still completely rooted in the shoegaze post-rock sound that this side of Fifth Wave has.
And
it's a coherent album in a
Yeah.
good sense. Like it's a pretty impressive. It's weird to call it like a collaboration album because I don't really think it sounds too much like a collaboration. I think it sounds like a split.
Yeah, it's
a split album. We rarely get those, but it's a split album.
Yeah.
And like we'd listened to splits before, like the Yards of My Cocoon stuff, but those were not very cohesive or very interesting. This, on the other hand, is like the complete opposite, where it hits every mark. It has great tracks. It all works together. It highlights the different artists in different ways. You compare songs like Colors to the 8th track to One May Be Harming, and like that whole section is just like the peak of it to me. It's. I think not to be hyperbolic, right? I think this is a classic of the genre. I think this is an important moment that people can point to and being like, this is something different. This is a release that is highlighting different artists and taking the split and making it into its own kind of art form in a way.
I had to think about it if I go into the agreeing of this being a classic, but this is definitely an important moment in this because remember, this is also before a lot of those Asian Glow collaborations came out as well.
Yes.
And it's just kind of like the foray when we're like, oh shit, all these artists. I mean, look into a bunch of the shit that happened with emo in the 3rd wave and the 4th wave and all that. People do not like to remember because it was the cringest fucking thing that happened. But you remember the amount of artists that would just fight with each other?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, say what you want about them fucking now. Obviously, we know which one of them has the better members, but I remember Brand New and Taking Back Sunday having a fucking huge amount of fighting with each other. I remember reading up on all that. There was someone posting on Emo Joker recently merchant ships, their little feuds that they put up with things. I mean, there were popular bands in these scenes that were just constantly fighting with each other to the point that like you would never get a collaboration or a split like this. But this is, I guess, important in the sense of like when we have this kind of terminally online kind of scene, as I always describe it,
mm-hmm.
it's it's really good that we're just not having this kind of whole fighting or infighting in the scene that kind of ruins it, but we're getting actual artists collaborating a lot more here.
Yes.
And I think this is I don't think this is the moment where it starts or anything like that, but I think this is a big moment in which Parannoul and Asian Glow are like the two big ones, with Weatherday as well in the post-rock one. Not to give any downside to sonhos, tomam, conta. I think they're a pretty competent one, but they're not as acclaimed as Parannoul or Asian Glow.
And I would argue that this split makes the case for them, and I wish they were more
Yeah,
acclaimed.
that is an absolutely fair take to have having that, and that's I guess that's why I would put this as in a landmark in that sense. I don't think this is as good as some of the other albums that we've heard in the sound, but I do think it is an important release just to get this kind of huge, big split album. And I remember the hype for when this came out as well.
Oh, yeah.
That was like the holy shit, we got this now.
It was the follow-up to the Next Part of the Dream that people kind of needed. To like kind of capitalize on that.
And it's not the follow-up either. It's just more Parannoul, which is how it was seen, but then it's also like it's more Asian Glow, and there's this other artist. I know it's the rudest way to describe it, but that's just how we were feeling when this was out. And
I was reading an article, like a thing about Asian Glow and how the Next Part of the Dream inspired Cultical, the album that they put out in 2021 as well. Like to the point that they made it in like a week or something. So I can see how like Parannoul kind of started all of this, and I don't know where sonhos, tomam, conta really comes in, like, other than like the fact that Longinus Recordings, Matt Cruz, just kind of was able to be in contact with all of them and get all of them on the same page. But I think Parannoul kind of spurring on some of this musical development and making this possible in a sense is awesome.
Yeah.
And just by doing what he does.
So I probably don't even have to question what your number one of the week is.
Probably not.
Nah, that's fair.
And that was a complete surprise to me too, because like I listened to this back then and I thought it was cool, but coming back to it, holy shit, this stands up to me as like part of that circle of albums that we listened to in 2021, and we're kind of turned on to doing this as like a long-term project of just
because we
covering this.
It's weird that we didn't cover this when it came out, even though we knew about it.
It was late in the year, so I think we just couldn't get to it with everything else we wanted to do.
But I think it's good that we've done this in a retrospective, because as I agree, like I'm still a bit stuck in comparing to what we were hearing around that year as well. But I do think time has given a bit more of a retrospective as well to kind of appreciate this more of its own. Not to say that I hated this when it came out. I liked it when it came out. But I was just more focused on stuff that had already been released. So it's good that we kind of looked at this in a retrospective, I believe. I think you're right. I don't think it's a classic, but I do think it's a landmark.
Yes. Landmark is good enough for me. Trix, what about you?
I agree that this is kind of a landmark album. It's one of my favorites of the week, I'll say that. I mean, Parannoul is just fantastic. But yeah, I don't have a lot to say this week. I'm going to be honest. This was a weird week for me.
That's okay.
There was a lot to cover in this, but I think we've had a pretty good spectrum of fifth wave here. We are the predominant fifth wave podcast out there.
Somehow, some way.
Imagine 1 week I just didn't pick Parannoul or Homer's Where.
Yeah.
Where would we be? And I love if you search up Parannoul in our Discord at the moment. There's a really great fucking comment that Dominic has posted, which is I think your pick so far this year has been Parannoul followed by Homer's Where and you tagging in that. Little did we know that would be the peak of this podcast. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that was more than 50 episodes ago.
That's kind of what set us on our trajectory, right? Like, yeah, we started in certain places at the beginning of the show, and you know, we went through 2020 kind of exploring what we could do, covering some of our favorites, and then 2021 is where we had that big exciting moment of like, oh, there's more we can do.
We finally found it. Finally, 6 Wave Emo.
6 Wave Emo is just 5th Wave Emo. It's just happening at the same time.
Yeah. Favorites of this: Nails, Insomnia, yeah. Colors and Love Migraine. I don't really actually particularly have a least favorite, even though like I still think things are better. I don't think anything on here is bad or is worth like telling you sucks or has any criticism. I just and that's weird because I don't even consider this perfect. I wouldn't tell you this isn't. I probably wouldn't even tell you this is a strong 9, but I think this is a really good split to listen to. It's just nothing really sucks. It's just like, yeah, maybe things could be a lot more interesting, or maybe we could have a bit more of a coherency from a collaboration. But yeah, it's a really good like compilation, basically.
Yeah.
My favorites are Vento Camina Camingo, One May Be Harming, and Colors. That's one from each artist. My least favorite is probably something like 70 Seconds Before Sunrise.
Yeah, maybe I'd give it to that as well. But it is 70 seconds.
That's true.
Yeah. Favorites, Nails and Insomnia, and no real least favorite.
All right.
Alright. I'm happy to start with the rankings because I'm kind of like aware of where I'm going to be at with this.
Yeah, let's go.
So, least favorite, I'm going to have to give to Rookie Cards, A House That Sat Silent, and A Star Nearing the End of Its Life. Second least favorite is where this gets a bit tough. And I'm going to have to apologize to Rate Your Music, and I'm saying it's Five Pebbles, Forgetmenot as number 7. Number 6, I'm then going to put as the Civil War in France. Number 5, I'm going to put as Goodnight Moon from fuvk. I'm going to be a coward. Some weeks I'm not a coward. This week I'm going to be an absolute coward because I'm thinking where I'm at, what I like more, blah, blah, blah. And I don't know, maybe it's just too late in the night for me to really properly figure this out. But I'm going to put number 3 as Sinner and Gen 3. Okay. I think it's the coward's move, but fuck you too. Number 2, I'm going to have to put as Pool Kids because when I feel like what we're talking about, and I think the top 2 there are the ones where we're comparing this all in 5th Wave and stuff like that are going to be the more important ones. But number 2 is going to be Pool Kids, and then number 1, I mean, kind of just has to be the Split album.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
I'll go next if you'd like.
All right.
My least favorite, the number 8 this week, is the Civil War in France. I just did not find that much to latch onto, unfortunately. Number 7, we'll go to Rookie Card. Number 6, Forget Me Not. Number 5 is Fuck. Now the difference here is that number 4 for me is Pool Kids.
Oh.
All right.
Number 3, I gotta get the Gen 3 because while Pool Kids does go hard, Gen 3 is just a really tight collection of tracks at the end of the day.
Plus, Origami Angel was the main act you went to see.
Yes. Number 2 is Sinner. Number 1 is Downfall of the Neon Youth.
Number 8, I'm going to throw down as Civil War in France, then Rookie Card, and then I am going to throw. Let's go Postcard Nowhere. I didn't really vibe with it. Then Fuck. Origami Angel, Pool Kids, Five Pebbles, and Downfall of the Neon Youth.
Well, there you go, Dominic.
Ooh.
I believe you were the one who picked it, weren't you?
Yeah, that's a unanimous win. I'm very surprised.
You got a unanimous win at the end of the day.
Hell yeah. All right, so do I need to post a list of new releases, or do we know what we're picking?
Nah, post a list. I want you to just post a list because I just want to...
Let's see the list, and then we're going to completely disregard the list.
Yeah, basically, I want to just make sure there's like nothing in this list. Because haven't you added some stuff to it?
Yeah, I always add 5 new things, regardless of what we pick, at least.
Yeah.
So here is the list. I'll mention some things in brief. We of course have your Origami Angel, Home is Where, new stuff. We have your Parannoul stuff, Kixie, My Olden Days Garden Path, the band from Chicago, Rustring, That Same Streets EP that I mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
That Catching Techniques EP that I'm very curious about with that cover art. Some Carter C stuff.
Let me look at that Catching Techniques EP cover art. I gotta. Oh my god, it's not easy to search up in Google. Fucking hell, man. That's so. I can't even find the cover art. You're gonna have to post that. What the fuck? Why is this so hard to find? I'm actually devastated. This is. Here we go. This is. Yeah, there we go. There we go. Finally fucking found it. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, with a song called "I Ripped My Mum Jeans."
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, that's fucking funny. Yeah, so we're completely disregarding this whole list.
Yes.
That's what you want to do?
Yeah. Yeah, it's for those who are thinking we're about to pick 3 things that's not on here. No, it's 3 things that are on here, but we kind of we've kind of all agreed what we're going to pick, and I don't think
like last week.
As a formality,
I think we all kind of want to pick each one off this. So do we just not assign anyone to any of this and just agree that this is like free stuff that's been drafted?
I want to pick. I want us each to name one because I think that's fun. Because I'm the one that's really pushing for us to do Parannoul's After the Night.
Okay, well, I'm obviously it's associated with me. I think I have the full rite of passage to have this one associated with me since I brought them onto the podcast. I'm obviously picking the Homer's Where the Whaler. I've never been as excited for an album release as I was for this one in a long time. So I'm picking the Whaler from Homer's Where.
I've already listened to it like 8 times.
Yep.
So Trix, your provisional pick then is
Origami Angel, The Brightest Days.
Hell yeah. Then it's technically we all picked an Origami Angel project. Hell yeah, it's one of the few elite projects.
Yeah, which what does that fall under? Who have we still got? I know Big Scary needs to be covered by Trix.
Yeah, Homo's Where needs to be covered by Trix.
Trix as well, yeah. But who has not been? Oh, sorry, who has been covered by all 3? I know Petite League has.
Petite League.
I know Of Montreal has.
Of Montreal,
King Giz.
King Giz.
Yes, King Giz. Yes, that one does count. So
we all technically agreed on doing Daft Punk for episode 50.
Yeah, but that's a different one. That's not a separate album for each one.
That's fair.
I'm meaning more of this in a separate album.
It might be a short list.
Yeah, I swear there's bound to be more that's in it. No. Rush.
Oh yeah, we each picked a Rush for that one episode.
Yeah, because you two that one's different to the Daft Punk because we all picked a separate album.
Actually, hold on. I think who picked 100 Gex originally? Was it you or was it me?
I haven't picked 100 Gex.
I think
you made Trix pick. You made Trix pick 100 Gex.
Yes.
So
it was associated because I picked Kieran J. Callanan and I never picked the Tree of Clues or the EP. So I haven't actually picked 100 Gex. So that one doesn't count. Whoopsie doodle. Yeah, I'm searching more into this because surely there's gonna be some there's gonna be more, but we've got Rush, King Giz, Petite League, and Of Montreal. That's a list of 4.
Let's see. Did we all do Beach Bunny?
I don't think I picked Beach Bunny.
No,
I think
that's another one.
I think you did, and I think I haven't actually picked a Beach Bunny. I'm just looking because surely there's gonna be some fucking emo in there. But now obviously Origami Angel was number 5, even if it has been conscripted. Fuck, I'm so desperate to figure this out. Anyway, as we find it out, I have been Ritalin. You can catch me on my website, Ritalin for Kids at github.io. I also have a YouTube channel. That's in the description below.
I have been Trix. You can catch me on Twitter at procrastinaut_. It's like procrastinating astronaut and then an underscore at the end of it. And I somehow also got an invite code to Blue Sky, so you can catch me there at on Blue Sky. That is the Twitter 2.0. Same handle except no underscore, so it's procrastinaut at procrastinate.beastguy.site or whatever the fuck it is. Their handles are ridiculous. Buy our merch. We have like a clock with our logo on it. Our YouTube website, whatnot.
Oh,
I
yeah.
combined two things there.
Oh, one thing I do want to mention. I would like to tack on one extra thing. I want to cover the now deleted, but I still have the file of Parannoul single and after Endless Night, I think it's called.
Yeah, Into the Endless Night, which is
yes.
actually on the live album as well.
Yes, and on the
In
live
a
album,
completely different length.
On the live album, it is 45 minutes. But he did release the original on Bandcamp for a while, so I would like to at least throw that in.
8 minutes.
Yes. So I will post the file for that so we can have some reference of what the difference here is. Anyway, my name is Dom. You can catch me online at DACICHOCKI on Twitter. I have a YouTube channel, Domino Chikoki. It's not really worth visiting, but you can if you'd like. My short film Beat is on there. I am sometimes on the Games My Mom Found podcast. We just covered Kingdom Hearts 2 recently, and God, that was like a 3-hour discussion.
That's funny.
So yeah, that's going to do it for us. Thank you so much for listening.
Yeah.
We hope you have a great day, and good luck listening to these albums like I'm sure you know that we will enjoy.
Oh, yeah.
Bye.